Come on into the ditch. I'm your resident ditch witch, Tara Tyne, and we're about to get witchy, whether you like it or not. So this time of year is usually dominated mostly by making preserves in my house. All different kinds, usually some kind of combination of pears and apples. Jams and chutneys are very popular, and I'll often make a winter tonic as well from foraged berries, which I have done this year. You'll see more on that later. And this year I've also decided to try infusing fruits in alcohol as well, which is working out quite well for me. So I'm going to show you how I've been doing that. First up, pear and apple chutney. Okay, so we've got pears, we've got apples, we've got a very big pot, and we've got all of the other ingredients. So we're going to be using cider vinegar as the actual preservative. We've got some lovely green cardamom pods. I've got my cloves. Handy tip, if you use ground clove a lot, and I do because it just tastes like the winter and like autumn, and it gives so much depth of flavour to things. So I keep this refillable grinder that I originally bought black pepper in, and I put cloves in the bottom of it, and it's incredibly handy for just grating little things. I've also got some shallots, some demerara sugar, and some raw ginger. So I'm going to get peeling these pears and apples, and we're going to get started. Okay, so there we have it. That is the equivalent of 7 tart apples, and I put in about 1.75 kilos of what I think might be the world's smallest, fiddliest pears. That took forever to peel and chop those, but I'm delighted it's done now. We just have a few more things to throw into the pot. We're going to do those now, and added bonus, we have lots of free food for the compost pile. Those are going to be great. So I'm going to get the rest of the stuff in here now, and you can watch me doing that. Okay, so I'm just finishing off these last few bits. We need 2 to 4 tablespoons of grated ginger. So I think we're just going to chuck this whole lot in because I quite like ginger. Great winter warming ingredient, just to add it to anything really. Warms up your whole system from the inside out. So yeah, I'm very glad that the world's tiniest pears are all prepared and in the pot now. They haven't always been that small in previous years, but it is now the early days of October, and local customs around these parts dictate that you stop picking fruit from the bushes after, well, in some places it's the Feast of Michaelmas, the 29th of September. That's the feast of the Archangel Michael in Christian tradition. In other parts, the date that you stop foraging for food on the bushes, the ditches, is the 31st of October, which is Iha Hauna, which may be better known to some of you as Halloween. And yes, Ireland invented it. So we're just gonna dump all of that in there. And what else do we need now? We need some shallots. 2, 3, 4. But this is honestly one of my favorite things to do at this time of year. Going out and picking things from hedges and coming home and making delicious things you can eat all winter from them just feels like, well, it feels like daylight robbery. That'll do, because I can't see a thing. Put them in the pot. And rinse. I'll cry. Now, some green cardamom. Okay, so it's a half a teaspoon of that, so I don't actually really know how many that is because I don't use cardamom very often, so get all of the little seeds out. Oh, that one got away from me. Oh, the smell of that is delicious. It's already feeling really seasonal. Let me see, yeah, I think four pods should be good. Try this here. Yeah. Yep. So I'm hoping, I've got 10 jars clean for this. That's really all I could get my hands on. And I'm hoping that's going to be enough. And it would be really nice to give some jars to people for Christmas presents. I still, however, have a massive glut of pears left over, so I'm thinking maybe about steeping those in some gin. Also as a present for people, it'll be quite a nice use of too many pears. We have some little bits of the pod in there, but that's okay. The whole pod is good for flavour. Really, you should smell this. I wish you could smell this. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's definitely about a half a teaspoon. So there we go. And my trusty clove shaker. So it said just a pinch of ground clove. That's a good pinch. And oh yes, we do the nutmeg next. So this is just a little quarter of a nutmeg that I have left over from previous recipes. And this stuff lasts quite a long time too. You really can't beat fresh grated nutmeg. How much of that do we need? A quarter teaspoon. We'll probably have a little bit more than that there, but that's okay. I really like my nutmeg. A teaspoon of white pepper. I was actually hoping to get my hands on some fuchsia berries, and apparently fuchsia berries have quite a peppery taste, so I thought that would have been really nice to add in, but I just couldn't find any. You really have to beat the birds to it, and I've just been too busy this year, so no fuchsia berries this year, but we'll try again next year. Now I am adding 250 ml of cider vinegar. This is the actual preservative agent in chutney. Oh yeah, as well as the delicious mix of demerara and white sugar. So we put that in first. We give it a good mix. Oh, it looks like so much fruit, but it smells delicious. Absolutely delicious. Using my giant spoon. The spatula might have been better, but you know, it's late in the evening. So this ditch witch is using what's close to hand. Now my cider vinegar, I don't actually know if that's going to be enough, but I still have another 100 ml of that if it's going to be a problem. So we're going to set that on and bring it to the boil, and then we are going to simmer it for between 30 and 40 minutes, and I will see you then. Okay, so you can see there now that our apple and pear chutney has reduced down to a beautiful consistency. We've had a taste. It's sweet and it's spicy and it is warming and delicious. It's going to be really, really nice with cheese around Christmas time. So we're looking forward to that, but it's time now to get it served up. You can see here I've got jar lids have been sterilizing for 10 minutes, boiling away, while the jars have been sterilizing in the oven. So we are just getting these out of the pot. Just leave those draining like that. Some of them have gone inside each other while they've been sterilizing in the pot, so you want to kind of be careful of that. It probably would have been a better idea to use a bigger pot, but all of our large pots are currently in use. These have been in here at about 100, 110 degrees for 10 minutes. So that should be them sterilized now. The trick is to try and get it served up while they're still warm, and that's what creates the sterilizing effect. Sorry, that's what creates the sealing effect. I can't talk and make things sterile at the same time. Yeah, those are still very hot. Okay, here we go. Look at that golden autumnal goodness. Okay. Ooh, put it down. Look at that by Speedy McSpeederson. Jar number 1 complete. Apple and pear chutney. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jars, which is very, very reasonable. I wonder if I shouldn't have made more, so there might be another batch of that, but we will start it earlier in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Time to go make a lasagna.
My
my friend comes to call, lands down on my...
This time of year isn't all just about being stuck inside. We don't have our own fruit trees yet, just one blackcurrant bush, but we do have flower beds and a vegetable bed which need tucking in for the winter. This protects them from frost and helps them to retain moisture and nutrients in the soil, which is very important. This is my first year mulching, and here you can see Dave building a mulch bin for us. This will hold the grass and hedge trimmings that we end up with.
She's my inspiration, that brave...
I also have the skirtings of the sheep's wool, which you might remember from my first rug felting video. These act as both great mulch and fertiliser, and I'm hoping will really work well with our grass cuttings in keeping this bed safe and protected this winter.
Everything on winter evenings, wings sparkling with frost. She may come to me to tell me she is lost. And crumbs of...
So some of you have started asking what exactly is a ditch witch, and it's pretty hard to sum up in 2 or 3 sentences, but I would say what I am about to do is a pretty good example of some grade A ditch witchery. Those of you who know me in person might know that my father passed away earlier this year, and one of the things between us was always that around early mid-autumn time I'd get this call from him going, "The pears are ready." And so I would make my way out to him and he'd send me off home with boxes and bags of apples and pears and plums and sometimes even damsons from my nanny's house down the road. I would then spend the next few weeks in blind panic trying to dig up all the jam jars I possibly could to make as many jams and chutneys as I could possibly fit in my presses. So this year I've already made my jams and chutneys, but because we probably won't still have possession of my father's property by the time his fruits ripen next summer, I'm going to try and preserve those tastes a little bit longer now by taking some of his apples and pears that I have left over and preserving them in gin. So this is an incredibly simple process. I've already had a go at doing it with some brandy and some vodka, and in those I put cinnamon as well, and you'd be totally free to put cinnamon into this too. I did see recipes for that online, but for this batch, which I'm going to share with my sister, I want just that really pure taste of the apples and pears. So I have taken the skin off the fruit. That is not mandatory. In fact, one of my batches I left the skin on and it really adds depth of flavour, but I find with the skin off it's sort of sweeter and like a purer pear or apple flavour. So for this I have taken the skin off. I've also decided not to use sugar in it, even though that is a thing you can do also if you like, and you can get really creative with these flavours. I saw some beautiful ones on the internet, including things like cardamom and like I said, cinnamon, and there's all kinds of flavour combinations that would probably be delicious, but I'm not a huge drinker, so I like it simple, and my sister is a chef and I think she'll really appreciate this too. So I'm gonna get going. I didn't weigh these or anything like that. It's really just as much as you need to fill this jar. So if you were using sugar, you would want to fill it up to about 1/3 of the way. I think after you've put your fruit in, at least that's what I did anyway, it was very sweet, but beautiful in like cocktails or as like a hot cordial, medicinal of course for the winter time. And hey, look, that was just like the perfect amount of fruit. And for now, it's really just as simple as topping up with gin. What you're going to want to do is shake this mixture every day, if not several times a day. And after as little as a week, but you can leave it steeping for several weeks if you want a really intense flavour, then what you need to do is strain it out through some cheesecloth and into the receptacles that you're going to be using. So I'll show you that in a second. So here it is, and here are some I made earlier. Here I've got my vodka, which has skin on and no sugar, but it has like, oh, I put a load of tasty things into that. There's cinnamon and ginger and cloves and in this one here we've got brandy without sugar but plus cinnamon. I'm a huge cinnamon fan, so it has gone into almost everything that has apples and pears in it this year. And this one is the one with sugar, also brandy, and now I need to find little tiny containers to keep them in. Okay, so I managed to scrounge up a couple of empty vodka bottles. There was a little bit left in them. I made Dave drink it. He's out in the kitchen now, slaughtered. No, that's a lie. We just poured them into a bigger bottle. But I've given these a quick sterilizing in a pot with boiling water for 10 minutes and the lids too. And I'm going to leave the vodka for maybe another couple of weeks because the flavour on that is coming along really nicely. But I think my brandies are done now, and I'm going to transfer them into the bottles via a measuring jug with some cheesecloth or calico tied over the top of it. And now I'm going to do my very best to not spill it everywhere. I've only been using very small jars so far because it was all I had, and I decided to do the experiments, the taste test experiments with the sugar, without the sugar, like I was talking about earlier. But I would highly recommend that you use bigger jars. Use the biggest jars that you have, and since it's only going to be soaking for a week or a few weeks, you can use anything at all really. It doesn't need to be terribly well sealing. Alcohol is a great preservative, so it's kind of the storage is a little bit more important. So okay, change of plan. My calico, as it turns out, is waxed, and oh, you can't really see, but the liquid is pooling in the top of it and is refusing to drain down through it. So you want to watch out for that. Whatever you're using to strain this, make sure it's not waxed. You can actually even just use an old t-shirt for this, but I don't have one handy, so I have prepared another jar with some definitely not waxed cotton on the top, and wish me luck. Yes, that is what you want. That is working nicely. Beautiful. And I'm just gonna get as much of the juice out of that as I possibly can. Okay, and you can see, if you wanted it really clear, you could strain it and strain it again through finer and finer fabrics. I'm not feeling particularly fussy on this one, so I'm quite happy with my cloudy brandy. The smell of it is just unbelievable. It smells like summer. But it's going to be delicious in my mulled wine. weird shooting angle, but I wanted you to be able to see what I'm doing here, and my house is rather pokey. But we're not going to let that stop us from making something really delicious now. First up, you're going to want to heat your glass vessel or whatever you're using by pouring hot water from a kettle down the back of a spoon placed inside the glass. Hot whiskey glasses are great for hot cocktails, but I've just picked up these mason jar mugs and I thought they were very cute, so it has to be done. We're going to let that heat for a minute, and meanwhile I'm going to introduce you to the ingredients that I am using. This here is my winterberry tonic, which has elderberries, rose hips in it that I foraged. I also put some ginger and some lemon balm from my garden and some other things in that. I might show you how to make that next autumn, but I wasn't quick enough off the draw to catch it on film this year around. Needless to say, it's delicious and it's going in this cocktail. So, when your glass has been sufficiently heated, you tip that water out. I'm going to want to just wet around the top of the glass a little bit with some water, and then I'm placing it down into this mixture I have made, which is muscovado sugar mixed with some castor sugar and some cinnamon, and we've got a really nice sugared top on that now, very festive. Okay, so we are going to put in the hot water first. 350 ml of that because I don't want my glass getting too cold, and also because I have made rather a lot of hot whiskies in my day, and I always feel like it's just better to add the alcohol after the water. I am going to push 2 tablespoons of my syrup in. That a good stir. Now this here would be delicious just by itself, but we're not going to stop there. Of course we're not. It would be ridiculous. Now, next up, I am going to add 2 cups of gin. This is just gin I had left over from preserving fruit. And finally, this is some spiced vodka that I made, which has pears and cinnamon and cloves and ginger in it. I decided to go all out on that one because vodka is kind of so lacking in taste by itself that I thought it would pick up the flavours really well, and I was right. So that's 2 cupfuls of vodka as well. I'm going to just give that a little mix. I'm going to pop in a cinnamon stick, and there you have it, a really warming cinnamon and berry flavoured cocktail to enjoy around the late autumn and winter months. Hit subscribe for more fun and witchy adventures, and see you next time. Slán go fóill.